In a stunning revelation, Defence Minister A.K. Antony has just said that the reason for not buying the medium multi-role combat aircraft is there is no money. The country faces a financial crunch. Defence Minister A.K. Antony has said that the MMRCA deal could now only move forward in the next financial year. In effect, the UPA has left the deal to the next government to conclude. Defence Minister Antony attempted to clarify his comment by saying, and I quote, "The procedure is on. We are yet to settle the cost. We don't have much money anyways." End quote. And joining me now for more on this story's headlines today is defence correspondent Jugal Purohit. Jugal, take us through the details of what Antony said. This is an aircraft that the Indian Air Force so desperately requires, but now the Raksha Mantri says there's no money.
That's correct, Gaurav. In fact, if we just look at the background of the manner in which the budget has been evolving vis-a-vis the MOD, the budget which was presented last year in the Parliament around this time, in fact, showed the least possible growth in almost 3 to 4 decades. In that sense, it was being said as one of the worst budgets for the Defence Ministry. Apart from that, we are also aware, Gaurav, that in the middle of the year somewhere, we saw the entire issue of the rupee weakening, after which we, of course, had to pay more for the fuel that we import. And in fact, just a couple of weeks back, we had the incident where capital acquisition budget was then transferred onto the revenue side because the government did not have enough money to, actually keep importing fuel, supplying fuel, and keep paying salaries. So when you are faced with a situation where your fuel expenses and your salary expenses are you do not know where they're going to come from, at that time a deal like the MMRCA, which is obviously being touted as the mother of all deals, the cost of which is still not frozen, but it will be in excess of 12 to 13 billion, is obviously off the limits for now. And that's what exactly the Defence Minister has said a short while back. He said that quite frankly speaking, right now the Defence Ministry has in fact spent almost 92% of its capital acquisitions fund. That is where from all the new acquisitions are made and done. And he said that right now it's not in a position therefore to actually even sign a contract like the MMRC. Remember,
clearly poor planning and poor execution of those plans. Stay on with me, Jugal. Before we move on in this bulletin, let's listen in to what Defence Minister A.K. Antony just said.
It doesn't mean like that. I told you the delay is mainly negotiation is going on because of the shortage of money. This financial year, don't expect any finalization of the agreement. Next year, by that time, I think process will continue. Next financial year, I hope that the process will be able to complete.
This year there is no money, says the minister. Let me also bring in Deputy Editor Defence Shiv Arur for more on this. Shiv, these are budgeted payments. $25 billion is supposed to be the cost of the MMRCA. It's already gone up from what was initially perceived to be a $10 billion deal. And there is no money that this government has. Capital budget is being transferred to revenue budget to pay for fuel. This is extremely poor planning and execution of plans.
It's disastrous planning, but not surprising at all, Gaurav. In fact, this was very much foreseen sometime early last year. Remember when decisions were being contemplated at the Finance Ministry and MOD level to actually divert funds, like you rightly pointed out, from the capital stream to the revenue stream, for fuel, for maintenance, and for logistics activity as a result of earlier, poor planning. So the combat aircraft deal, the M777 ultralight gun deal, and at least 6 to 7 other deals which have actually reached a stage of finality and are ready for signing are going to be left in abeyance until the next financial year when there are fresh sanctionings of funds for these things. Like you're very right when you say this is poor planning because these are budgeted allocations. Each of these acquisitions has a certain budget that is approved by the Finance Ministry. And remember, A.K. Antony had even said, the Chief of Air Staff had even said at least 2 years ago that no matter what the price escalation is as far as the MMRCA is concerned, there will be budgeted funds that will be provided because this has been categorized as a priority procurement for the Air Force given the depleting squadron numbers. Now, given that this deal has been deferred to the next financial year, take a look at some of the other procurements, Gaurav, that have also been deferred. You've got a deal for 22 attack helicopters that has almost been finalized with the United States for the Apaches. 15 heavy lift helicopters with the United States, as Jugal has been reporting. Both these deals have been, negotiations are complete, draft agreements are in place, but we can't sign them because we don't have the money. So at the end of the day, what we have is a military that is forced to wait many more months until these aircraft deals are actually signed, and then wait for the lead time before those aircraft are actually delivered, in an atmosphere where A, there is very little money to pay for because of poor planning. B, you've got the shadow of the Augusta-Westland controversy that has already, put a spanner in the works of quick and efficient decision making. So at this point of time, I can tell you that all stakeholders involved in the business of defense procurement, which is already a very troubled business in India, are not a very confident lot, Gaurav.
This is shocking, but those who follow the beat, those who are looking at this very closely, know that the government wasn't treating this as priority. The Indian Air Force has been crying from the rooftop, we desperately need new aircraft. We are desperate because we are giving another lease of life, another extension to the aging MiG-21 fleet. And what this leads to is a double whammy. We lose our pilots, we lose our aircraft, we don't buy new aircraft. And this clearly means our defense preparedness is really suffering on A.K. Antony's watch, Shiv.
That's right, and it's, if I may call it so, Gaurav, it's not only a double whammy, it's a triple whammy. A, you've got no money to buy new jets. B, the LCA Tejas, which was supposed to replace the MiG-21s, has been delayed by another year. C, there are no funds to even upgrade the MiG-21s. So let's not even talk about the MiG-21 life extension program. There's no money for that either. And C, the futuristic aircraft programs that, India is pumping money into with the Russians, like the 5th generation fighter aircraft, are not even on the horizon. Those are aircraft that will be delivered, way beyond the next decade, sometime around 2022 to 2025. So at this stage, what the Indian Air Force desperately needs, and the last 3 to 4 chiefs of air staff have been crying from the rooftops, like you put it, about how each passing year means a certain effect on squadron strength,
yes,
a certain effect on power projection abilities, a certain effect on availability of aircraft for the credible minimum air defense, especially in the western, northern, and eastern sectors. So these are numbers that bureaucrats and politicians very rarely actually understand on the ground. And if I may point out one more thing, Gaurav, very quickly, the last point I want to make is the Augusta-Westland deal, the VVIP chopper deal, was a deal that was actually praised when it was signed because of the efficiency that was shown by the entire bureaucratic system. Money was made available, field trials happened quickly, and the deal was signed within a matter of 3 to 4 years. Here we're talking about the MMRCA, where the requirement was floated for the first time, and correct me if I'm wrong, Gaurav, in 1999 is when the Air Force first floated that requirement, just after the Kargil war, and 15 years later, we don't even have a deal. That's incredibly embarrassing.
And look at the irony, that headlines today's Shiv Arur and Jugal Purohit bring out. There is no money to buy fighter aircraft that Indian Air Force desperately needs, but there is no paucity of funds to buy VVIP helicopters for the Prime Minister and other VIPs in this country. Is this how this country will be defended? We will track this story very closely. For the moment, Jugal Purohit and Shiv Arur, many thanks for joining me. We'll get you all the different aspects of this big story that we are breaking here on Headlines Today, that we will continue to track here on Headlines Today. We move on to the other big story that we're tracking here.